Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bari-Connected podcast and support group. And today we're being joined by these lovely ladies. Say hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
They're considered our wellness warriors. So ProCare actually has an affiliate program, and all three of these ladies are part of that program and just share different pieces on their, I'm gonna call it social media about their life, and are very just open and vulnerable with what's going on, and also share a little bit about ProCare. And so I wanted to have them on because um, their lives stand out and apart from many others in that they're just very authentic. And I don't know, I just love being with them. So I just want to say we're going to be talking about all kinds of things today, guys, including um, main things that a lot of you, when you registered for this call, asked a question about. So, mindset, emotions, we're going to talk about a little bit about nutrition, fitness, we're going to talk about plastics, we're going to talk about plateaus and regain, and also that post-op journey. You know, what it's like for those people who may have had weight loss surgery and are experiencing different things within that realm. I also want to say our calls, we're adjusting things a little bit because what we're wanting to do is to encompass what we call metabolic health. And so that brings about not only those people that are on a weight loss surgery journey, but those people that are on a weight loss journey in itself. Could be being on a GLP-1 and maybe even being both, you know, maybe having had weight loss surgery in that. But people who are just really wanting to gear in and be the healthiest that they can definitely be. And so we're going to begin with kind of an informal introduction for each of these. And I also want to say hello to each of you that are on our live call. Thank you so much for taking time out for yourselves and being a part of this call. And I see lots of hellos. Hello from Virginia. We have Missouri. We have Nebraska, Florida, Mississippi, Texas, North Carolina. And this call is being recorded. If any of you need to jump off a little early, know that the replay will be available using the same link that you used for the live call, or we always place these calls on our YouTube channel, ProCare Vitamins and Supplements. Subscribe there to make sure you get notifications when these are added. And so I am going to go ahead, and those are always shared the Tuesday after events. So let's just get started. I'm going to do a little introduction. And so let's start with Char. Okay. And Char is a certified life coach. Her her name on social media is VSG_bestie. She's also a trauma-informed life coach, a bariatric mindset specialist, and she helps bariatric patients cultivate a positive mindset for lasting success. And she also has a podcast, which I would strongly recommend that you guys check out. It's called Talk Bari to Me. And Shar, you're just really good at reframing challenges and embracing that compassion that you have within your heart. You have one of the biggest hearts. I just want to have you say a few words, introduce yourself a little bit.
Well, hello, and thank you, Brenda, first and foremost, for having us all on. Welcome in, folks in the chat. For those who I've seen and said hello, hello. For those who I haven't seen, welcome in. So my name's Char. A lot of you know me as VSG Bestie. I had VSG surgery, actually a revision. I was a lap band girly turned VSG girly October 25th, 2022. It was a life-changing procedure. So I went from being in my 30s on the same medication as my grandfather, who was 83, to completely changing my life, losing close to 150 pounds, having a berry baby right after, and creating a space in the community that I did not anticipate. I came into this journey documenting, like many of us know, our journeys on social media. That fast forward into a coaching business, turned into a podcast, turned into support groups. And now I get to share space with great people like the ladies you see here on panel. So that is my spiel. I hope you guys enjoy this group. It's a lot of great gems and a lot of great people on this panel. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Shar. And then we have Bex or Rebecca Lewis, and her her social media name is becoming_Bex. She had a VSG in January of 2021, and she's lost almost 180 pounds. Just incredible. She became a certified personal trainer and found her passion for helping other bariatric patients. And she's 4 years post VSG. She's had 3 plastic surgeries, lots and lots of experience, guys. Fitness, we're talking plastic surgery, and also just this surgery journey along with her own weight loss. So she's really good at talking about, she'll be able to talk about all of those different things. And Bex, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the high points, so there's that. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. One of my nerdy passions is bariatric surgery, obviously, and it is, um, honestly, whole health. I have a background in psychology and addictions counseling, and that was my previous life, and so I love being able to bring that into all of my coaching sessions. And, we talk a lot about mindset. I also have a background in eating disorders, and just kind of being able to, yeah, find ways to kind of tackle these things because it's not just simply a weight issue. It almost never is, right? There's more there. There's always more there. So that is my passion. I love nerding out about it. I love nerding out also about the body and, why it moves the way it does and why it's important to move it. And so, yeah, I mean, if any of my clients are on this, they'll be able to attest for that I just sit there and nerd out. So yeah, I'm really excited to do that with you guys today.
Well, and I think too, as you said, Bex, whenever you're really when you've been through something yourself and I guess the struggle points, but you also know what looks like on the other side, and some different tips and tricks to kind of help you get there in a more quicker way. Why not share that with people? Because
Exactly.
yeah, it's like to be able to help somebody else take a shortcut that might have
It
maybe
took me
taken us.
years. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Thank you so much. And then next we have Janelle, and her social media name is Janelle_on a journey. She's a 35-year-old from Las Vegas with a passion for hiking, traveling, cooking, and movies. And also, she had weight loss surgery in November of 2022. She's lost 90 pounds, regained her health, and also underwent skin removal. So she's going to have some experience with plastics as well. If anybody on this call has questions regarding that, she shares her story to help inspire and encourage others that are also on a weight loss path. And Janelle, tell us a little bit more about you.
So my name is Janelle. I'm a bariatric patient who had surgery November 7th of 2022. I've lost nearly 100 pounds. It's about 93 pounds. I currently work in social services. So that's my passion. I love helping families. I love helping people in general. So that's kind of why I started this page, kind of in hopes that maybe somebody would come across my page and kind of be inspired by my journey and just kind of what I'm going through with the authenticity and just being transparent with the ups and downs to help others feel seen and empowered. I'm really grateful to be a part of this conversation and to connect with such a powerful community with you ladies. I recently had plastic surgery and got skin removal in January. It was very unique in that I did not do it in the States. I really looked into medical tourism. I went out of the country, I went to Mexico. So I have a lot of insight with that. And I know a lot of people have a lot of questions with that as well. So I'm an open book. If you have any questions regarding plastics or just my experience abroad, I'm your girl.
Mhm. Thank you, ladies. And I say we jump right in. So if you're live on this call, you have the ability to make comments in our chat box. And also we have a um, Q&A box at the bottom of your menu. So please feel free to submit questions during this live call for these ladies so that they can try to give you a little bit of the things that they've been through, a little bit of their experiences, and really just help answer questions maybe about their own journey. We did have people submit questions before our call, and we have a whole list of those that we're going to be sharing about. And so we're going to dive in. I think we first start with mindset, emotions, the psychological part of having weight loss surgery. And we have probably about, I think, 5 questions submitted there. And we'll kind of talk about that first. So if you're on the live call, whether you're on Facebook or you're on this call here, I'm kind of looking at our Facebook post here. Whichever you're on, please feel free to submit questions right now regarding mindset, emotions, the mental health side of things. And I know some of you just recently, I saw some of you recently just posted on socials the mental health challenge. I guess we recently it's mental health awareness. So that was kind of fun. So this plays into that. So first one here, how how to control emotional eating, and also combat nighttime cravings. We're going to do both of those in the same question. Any of you ladies want to try to answer that for us?
Well, the emotional eating piece I can speak to because I have a lot of lived experience with that. I want to first say it isn't a flaw because a lot of shame and guilt gets tied into that emotional eating piece. So I want to just go on the record and say it isn't a flaw. One, we find that sometimes food can become a coping mechanism, right? Sometimes food, that relationship with food goes beyond, oh, it tastes good. No, sometimes what we're doing is kind of filling a void with that food. So I want us to start thinking of it beyond the food part. Why exactly are you eating emotionally? Really start documenting it, because if it doesn't go on paper, a lot of times it just kind of lives in the back of our minds, right? So what I found to be helpful is journaling. When I have those triggers where I suddenly want to turn to food, when I know appropriately I just ate, I probably shouldn't be hungry, but I'm having a stressful day. Now, it forces me to pause, which now I'm not eating. If I'm pausing, I'm not eating. I'm taking that moment to really document my feelings, because we're suppressing those feelings when we're sometimes just turning to the food emotionally. So I take that moment to really jot down what I'm feeling. Okay, why am I eating? Oh, I just got some stressful information sent my way. Okay, did I drink? Like, I'll go down the list of things, right? Like, and just on a bariatric scale here, uh, your hunger cue and your thirst cue are very much the same. And I learned that being bariatric because I thought I was hungry a lot of times. And in actuality, I was dehydrated and I wasn't drinking sufficiently. So maybe check some of those things first, but also be mindful that those feelings need a little more exploring. And there's no shame with that. And if you need to get a professional to work through those feelings, I think that's appropriate too. But documenting is great, because when you do go to the professional, now you have a record of what you were feeling in that moment, as opposed to trying to recollect what you were feeling 2 weeks ago or 2 days ago. I can't remember what happened 2 seconds ago. So just for your own record, I would say journaling is always a good one. So I'll give the mic to whoever else wants to chime in on that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said. One of the things I talk a lot about with my clients is, food has no morality. So when we're feeling that guilt, we need to ask ourselves why. Looking at diet culture, looking at, family or emotional or kind of sociological like influences that are causing that feeling of eating and then feeling guilty about it, or eating and then eating because we feel a certain feeling, whatever it is. There's usually other pieces that drive that. I will say that eating because of emotions on occasion is perfectly normal. Every single human being on the planet does it. It's when it becomes, maladaptive and contrary to what our goals are, right? When it becomes an everyday thing and a constant thing, and we're starting to see that regain, and we're starting to, really notice that, oh, this is not good, especially like, nighttime eating, I find is also very much often emotional eating, because maybe like Char was saying, like we have a stressful day And maybe throughout the day when we're actively busy or feeling that stress, we don't necessarily feel the need to eat. But then by the time the evening comes and like the work is done and maybe we're kind of by ourselves and our body is trying to regulate after all that stress from the day. And that is often the trigger, you know. And so sometimes even like I love the idea of journaling. But sometimes I will say that like Char was saying, like, I don't remember what happened like 2 minutes ago. I don't know what's going on, you know? So sometimes we're like, I have no idea, why am I feeling like this? And we don't always connect the dots that, oh, it's because 10 small, but stressful things happened all day long. And now we're feeling the effects of it at the end of the day. So sometimes it's not always, you know, as easy in black and white. So yeah, I mean, I love journaling. If you are able to identify those things, that's phenomenal. But sometimes just acknowledging that you can't always identify the reason, I think is helpful too, because it takes some of that stress off of like, it's not a moral failing that you're eating emotionally. You know, you get to be like, okay, you know, I'm not like doing anything wrong, like inherently, you know what I mean? And then, you know, trying to find an alternative coping mechanism, an alternative coping skill, get creative, go, you know, read a book, draw, go for a walk, hang out with your pet. You know, I love exercise as a coping skill for these kinds of things. Even in the evenings, you just maybe, if you're not like a, you know, nighttime gym girly like me, you find something a little bit more chill, just like going for a walk after dinner kind of thing to combat those. And then I also just want to say, like, with the you know, nighttime eating in particular, is it's not always a bad thing to eat at night. I know for myself, growing up in the diet culture of the 90s, yay, I was told, you know, don't eat after like 7 p.m. because anything you eat after 7 p.m. is like instantly turned into fat, except that that's not how food or metabolism or your bodies work. But we didn't, you know, we weren't told that in the 90s. So, you know, I always like, okay, you want a snack before bed? Okay, add, don't subtract. What can we add that goes towards our goals? And so, for example, if you're used to eating like an entire bag of popcorn, which I'm guilty of, you know, like maybe do half the bag of popcorn and have like some carrot sticks or some, you know, like uh, a protein shake or a Greek yogurt, or, you know, you're adding in protein, add in fiber. Those are the kind of key ones. And add those in, and don't just go cold turkey and pull everything away from yourself, because that's just not sustainable. It's small changes.
Great answer. And Janelle, I know you've been listing some stuff in our chat. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I mean, I feel like everybody kind of, you know, hit everything, all the points. But one thing I just kind of wanted to add with all of this, we have spent most of the time years being, we have spent years learning these habits with ourselves, like these unhealthy habits. So my advice would be to give yourself grace, because, you know, we've been doing these things for such a long time that it's going to be really hard to unlearn it in an instant. Progress is messy. So don't get down on yourself if maybe one night you get home from work, you had a really bad shift, and you go on a binge and eat like a whole sleeve of Oreos or something. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to undo all the progress you did for, you know, the whole week. Healing your relationship with food is a long-term journey. It's not something that you're going to fix today or tomorrow. It's not something you're going to fix in a day. You know, it's something that's going to take constant work, and it's not going to be instant, but it is definitely going to be worth it.
You guys all had such great answers. I think someone on Facebook is commenting, habits are triggered by cues and stimuli. So if you want to break any habit, you have to be simple, be conscious about the cues that are actually triggering a behavior. It's more difficult the more you do it, the more you get the grip on it. Journaling definitely helps. So kind of going back to some of what you guys were saying, There was a question on habits that kind of came up, and I see a lot of other people are submitting questions as well. Let's see. And I think you kind of answered this. What do you do when habits kind of creep back into everyday life? And it's kind of just going back to knowing if it's like maybe it's an emotional response, um, if it's just those normal things, like we just get into this habit. It becomes, I think, and we've said this on calls before, it becomes uncomfortable getting comfortable. You have to get to the point where you want to make a change. You have to become uncomfortable with comfortable. So um I'm gonna take
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because I think also consistency plays into it, right? You're not going to have perfect days every single day. That's not realistic in anybody's life, right? But like showing up at that 1%. So, say yesterday you weren't so happy about what you ate. To Beck's point, now you're adding the things that you should be eating into the equation. And we're talking about food. It could be working out. Maybe you didn't work out yesterday, but today you walked a half a mile. It's adding those little 1% efforts every day. And 1% is a very small number. You might be able to do more than that. I'm being very generous when I say 1%. You might be able to show up at 35%, which is my second favorite number to say. But 35% is amazing. It all of that beats zero effort. So be kind to yourself, but also know that consistency doesn't mean that your intensity level is at 100% every single day. That is not true. Consistency means showing up where you are and doing your very best where you are. So even if that's 1%, you should be applauding yourself and celebrating that, because when you celebrate those small wins, it encourages you to want to do bigger, better, more. So you got to hack your own mind a little bit.
That's definitely where self-love and compassion come in. And I'm going to go ahead and let's answer one of the ones on the live call here. I'm going to look back a little bit. One of the very first earlier ones was on, what do you do with loss of being able to eat the things you want to eat, cope with loss of food. And we're gonna make these our answers as quick and short as possible, just to be able. There's so many questions that are coming in, and I have a lot so try to like be real focused on your answer and like concise it so that we can get it through as many as we can. So
I'd say
coping
with,
with loss of food.
yeah, the loss of food, um, acknowledge it. It's normal. I think a lot of us cry, and especially because food is in our culture and our society very central to, happiness, sadness. We always eat food at funerals. We always eat food at weddings. We're just always eating food. It's a part of it's part of creating community, is eating food. And I will say that the sadness of losing food is like a coping mechanism, is really strong at the beginning, but it gets so much easier because you can enjoy food again. Just at the very beginning is when it's like awful, when you feel like you can't enjoy food, but it does get better. But yeah, acknowledging it, cry about it, let it out.
Yes. And also be okay with exploring your new norm, right? Because sometimes we get so fixated on the loss and not the possibilities, right? Because now you can go into this feeling like, well, I can't eat X, Y, and Z anymore. Maybe this is not something that aligns with where my goals are, but let's get creative. Let's start seeing what other things are, because now this gives you an opportunity to explore things that you maybe otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to explore because it wasn't something you even needed to think about. So I always try to look at the silver lining. While it is something that we do want to call a feeling, right? That's important. But I also want us to not dwell on that feeling and know that there are possibilities for something new, something that you may even enjoy more than you even thought. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. How about cravings? Because there's a couple questions on cravings.
Ooh, I still get them. I still get them pretty hard. I don't indulge the way I used to, but I have to give myself the ability to not feel like I'm in a food prison. So I do dabble with things, but if moderation is a concern for you, then I would probably be a little wary about introducing something that may potentially trigger you to go down the rabbit hole, because I've done that too. So, but I do dabble. I don't know if anybody else does.
I do. I am definitely a girl that does not deprive myself of really anything. I I am a very much a no food rules type of girl. I will give into some cravings within reason. Like you kind of mentioned earlier, Char, like, or Bex, if I do decide I'm going to have something that maybe isn't the best, I will also have it with something that also has like protein or like some type of nutritional value. Like if I know I want like Chips Ahoy cookies, I'm like, okay, I'll get a couple of those, but I'm going to also have some, you know, some boiled eggs. I'm also going to have like some cottage cheese and some fruit, like along with it. I'm going to like mix it with things that are actually going to help me and going to actually have nutritional value, not just the craving.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I also allow myself a lot of when I was heavier was I'm not allowed to have that. I made food rules for myself all the time. And now I'm like, there is no food rule because food is just food. There is no, I can't have this unless I'm allergic to it or I don't like it, you know? So yeah, allowing myself, I love sharing things with other people. So I never used to do that when I was at my heaviest. I would eat the whole pack of Chips Ahoy cookies, but now I will share it with my husband, or I will, only take some of it and be like, it's fine, because my brain kicks into eating disorder mode. And I'll be like, nope, it's fine. I can have more later if I really want them. And then again, I add, not subtract, and I evaluate, why am I wanting these cookies? And what is making me want more? So there is a lot that goes with the cravings, but yeah, I thoroughly believe in not fully restricting yourself from anything. Because how is that going to help you? It just makes the craving worse, and then you end up binging on it. So yeah, but I also agree, Char. I just want to say this, like, yes, if there is something that is a very slippery slope for you in some way, that is like a guaranteed trigger to make you dive, then yeah, maybe putting some parameters around that so that you don't fall down there, is also helpful. Every person's different though, for sure.
You guys are answering a lot of these. And one of the questions is why in the past why did I handle cravings better? They're a little further out and being annoyed by them. And I would just say sometimes I believe that your body craves things because it's looking for something. Maybe it's an emotional component, maybe it's a physical component. Sometimes it's because I've noticed I've craved stuff whenever I'm tired and I know I want energy. So I'm craving something because that will give me energy. It could be thirst, like I think Shar said earlier, or it could be, there's a lot of reasons. So maybe asking yourself, it's kind of going back to that journaling theme of like asking yourself, why are you doing that? And it could be just a habit, like a looping habit, like in the evenings, chocolate sometimes is my go-to. And I'm like thinking about chocolate, like I think I have to have something after dinner, chocolate, because it's become a habit. So maybe it's just a habit loop. And so it's breaking those. We have a question. I'm going to answer one more of these, and then I'm going to go into the questions submitted before. This person is asking, I'm 1 year post-out VSG. I really need help knowing about diet at point low carb or low calorie. My surgeon was great, and my team was not on the same page, and my paper packet had conflicting advice. So I will say this is super common, not only amongst surgeons, dietitians. It could be different, and I've seen different facilities have different parameters by maybe the one doctor will have one thing, one doctor will have another thing. And when you look across the United States, differing opinions on different things. So I just, from my own opinion, and I'll let these girls answer too, from my own opinion, and I think it is like trust yourself and know what maybe diet as far as what that looks like for you, incorporating the most nutrition into what you want and also looking at yourself, like what works for you. That's very vague, but I also think it's kind of on point. Anybody else want to add to that?
That's literally what I say is when it comes to, post-op suggestions from your surgeon, always follow whatever your surgeon suggests, for kind of immediate post-op stuff. But as time goes on, at the farther you get out, it's not always realistic to stick to whatever your surgeon suggests. And yeah, there's always conflicting information out there. Nutrition really comes down to personal preference. Some people find that they feel physically their best on low carb. I do not. I'm about medium carb is when I feel my best. And I didn't learn that until I had this surgery, and I kind of figured out like, oh, when I'm really low carb, man, I can barely get out off the couch. Like I'm exhausted. I just want to sleep all the time. My reactive hypoglycemia is actually 10 times worse. Like I just feel awful. But when I bump up the carbs to like 100 to 150 grams a day, I feel phenomenal and I have all the energy and I don't get those crashes. So it is 100% personal preference the farther and farther out you get and the more that you navigate this. So finding a nutritionist or finding a coach who aligns with your goal too and what you're looking for and has the same like philosophy that you have is key.
Okay. Let's kind of move on to let's go in and answer a few of the plateau and regain questions. Um Gosh, there's so many good ones. Hmm. Any, I'm just gonna say with all of these, they're all basically just like how to avoid regain, restart the process, best strategies for weight loss. Um, Girls, what would you say to that?
So, as a person who experienced regain firsthand, certain things, just being a woman is like our weight fluctuates in general. Yay! Um, but also just understanding that this path is not a linear path, right? By any means, there are going to be some peaks and some valleys, some regain, some loss, and it really, I think, being understanding like your body is important, and a lot of us bariatric people become specialists in our own bodies because we know our own sounds. We know when we're hungry. We know we get, so I think just becoming very familiar with who you are in this new norm is going to be really, really important. And just kind of managing your labs, right? Because I think we don't talk about that enough. Staying on top of your labs. Sometimes your body is giving you signs and letting you know like stuff is happening internally. Like I didn't realize, I didn't even know I had PCOS, and that my body was telling me things that I didn't know until I went and got labs and I went to go. So staying on top of just your general appointments, not just your bariatric ones, but see your doctor for your wellness check. See if you're a female, go see your GYN. These are all things that are tied to your overall health. So just screening your body is important, making sure metabolically you're in a good space. And if not, go get the assistance that you need. And I'm only saying this because I had to say this to myself just recently because I was really beating myself up about regain, but understanding that this is not a perfect process. This is a long-term journey. You're Barry for the rest of your life. So just give yourself a little grace to Janelle's point earlier.
Yeah, I would say weight loss is we're not meant to stay the exact same size forever. Honestly, we are the example of that. We weren't, and now we aren't. So expecting that of yourself now is, yeah, give yourself that grace. And yeah, hormones. I mean, I'm hypothyroid and PCOS as well. So weight loss is also slower for me. It is harder for me. My body fights me every step of the way. And I've also experienced regain specifically after plastics, and that is not talked about enough. We assume you get plastics, you get 10 pounds of skin removed, and you're suddenly going to be 10 pounds less. That is absolutely not how it works. Our bodies like to put on weight, especially women, and we're also meant to have weight on us, or fat on us in particular, to a certain degree, and that's healthy. So expecting, have realistic expectations of yourself and your body. And then also when it comes to losing that regain, it's refocusing. It's refocusing on the goals and the things that matter and the things that you're supposed to do, like drink your water, get your movement in, and protein first. I don't know about anybody else.
And sleep, and sleep.
Yep, and sleep. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, sleep. Whenever I eat, like, even I'm 4.5 years out, I can eat a decent amount of food at this point. But when I eat a plain chicken breast, you better believe that I am so full and I want to vomit. Like, I am so full immediately. So if you're finding like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I have much restriction anymore, go ahead and eat that plain chicken breast and you bet you will feel it. So protein first is always what I say, is go back to that.
And that
I
actually
agree.
is, yeah. Were you going to say something?
Just going back to your foundation, just the basics of what kind of got you to your success in the first place. Just the protein first, hydration, vitamins, tracking. That's what I always do. If I really didn't have like a whole lot of regain, I think I freaked out because I had like 6 pounds of regain, which in the grand scheme of things is the most normal thing in life for like a human being. But I just went back to the basics, like tracking, but not obsessively. Just kind of like seeing where I was having little shortfalls, and then meal planning, and then portion awareness. Because as we get further out, we can eat more. And then especially I've noticed with slider foods, the things that are really yummy, but don't tend to have a lot of nutritional value. Like my weakness is Cheez-Its. They just go down like no tomorrow, like the limit does not exist. So definitely watch out for those types of things. Just go back to basics if you find yourself regaining, would be my suggestion.
And I kind of want to answer that too, because for me, I struggled with regain as well. I had my surgery back in 2013, so I'm quite a ways out, 12 years. And I was finding the first 2 years I was losing over those first 2 years after weight loss surgery. And then I kind of slowly started putting on a little weight. I'd say over the next 5 years, just here and there and there and here. And it got to be about 35 pounds. And then kind of just stayed the same. Seemed like no matter what I was doing, it just kind of plateaued. And probably those of you who've been on this call before have probably heard me talk about this a little bit over the last year and a half, what's worked for me. And I've actually relost weight regain plus another 5 to 10 pounds. So about 45 pounds in the last year. So I'm actually less than I was right after I had surgery. But it was going at it in so many different ways. It wasn't a one-way approach. And I think all of you have kind of said this. For me, it was looking at my fitness levels. I actually engaged with finding people to help me, which has been, I've always kind of been very independent and thinking I can do everything on my own, but finding coaches, finding nutritionists, found a fitness coach to help me. Started working out 3 days a week. Now it's more like 5. Um, really worked strongly on my mindset. And I cannot say this strongly enough, every day, spending anywhere from 30 minutes to maybe a couple hours in my day of working on mindset. It could be listening to a podcast, reading a book. It could be whatever. And you guys, I know that sounds crazy being able to fit that in your day, but it's not. Like, you can listen to something while you're getting ready in the morning. You can listen to something while you're driving. If you're going, you can listen to something while you're working out on the treadmill or taking a walk. So it's very possible. The other thing is, so that's fitness, that's mindset, nutrition, just kind of going back to the basics, looking at what I was doing and trying to make small changes, just protein wise, focusing on protein. And then I think getting help from my surgeon's office, or actually for me, it was a nurse practitioner that I went to, and she helped me with my hormone levels, getting those back into check because I'm right at that age of menopause, and then also starting medications to help GLP-1. So it was like going at it or approach not just one way. So I think you almost have to look at coming at different directions and do it slow. You don't have to do all those changes at one time. Okay. So let's talk about plastics. Because there's some questions regarding plastics that's came in, how to start looking for plastic surgeons, that type of thing. And Janelle, I know you had answered in the comment section, somebody mentioning that, but we also had one before the call, and also it looks like Char might have answered. So I think all of you guys have a little bit of experience, Bex, too, with this question. What would you say about plastics?
I mean, I would say that in terms of like starting to look for somebody, first of all, if you have insurance that can cover part of it, do that first. I did not. I had to pay 100% out of pocket. And on the like there's good and bad for both, right? You know, if you have insurance that covers, then you are kind of locked into whoever is in network for your insurance. But if you pay out of pocket, you can kind of go anywhere. But that's the first thing. See if your insurance covers anything, a paniculectomy, whatever, brachioplasty, breast lift, reductions, whatever you need. And then after that, find somebody in the community who has had surgery whose results you like. Now, obviously, results are different from person to person. Scars differ from person to person. However, if you can look at them and say, okay, I love their results, let me go look at that surgeon and all of their, not all, but, a bunch of their patients, you can kind of see a consistency across, their patients and the way that they do their surgeries. So that is what I did. I found Dr. Dry at a Phoenix in Seattle before I even had weight loss surgery. And I had been following him, for like 3 or 4 years. So I knew immediately that I wanted him because he specializes in extreme weight loss, and I knew I had a lot of weight to lose, and I was going to have a lot of skin and a lot of subcutaneous fat that would need to be removed. I knew that going in, and I knew that that's what he specialized in. So being able to do that and find somebody who specializes in the thing that you need and has the results that you like, and then that's how I kind of did that.
I haven't had plastics yet, but as a person who's in the seeking process, I'll tell you, it is very important to interview these plastic surgeons. They're getting your money in the same way the bariatric surgeon got your money, and they have your life in their hands. So I do tell people, try to find a doctor, whether you're doing it here in the States or in other countries. There are plastic surgery boards for these other countries as well. Because I think a lot of times people are like, it's the wild, wild west if you do medical tourism. Not necessarily. So, do your due diligence, whether you go in the States or you choose to opt to go outside of the country. That's important. To Beck's point, doctors have signature scars in the way they do certain. So you will see consistent scarring, or not necessarily scarring, but the way they do their incisions, where they place these incisions. So if that's important to you, do your digging there. There's a couple of review sites for plastic surgeons. I use realself.com, which is one that patients speak very, very candidly about their experiences, whether it was good, whether it was bad. They have pictures there. You can go on social media and look at other people's experiences. It's okay to ask doctors, what are your death rates? Some will be transparent about that. Some will not be. So that's very telling if they aren't. So just want to put that out there. At the end of the day, this is your life, and it's your journey. And I know that not every, plastic surgeon is created equal. Not every bariatric surgeon is created equal. So always do your due diligence as best you can as a person that's searching. Get as much information as you can and then narrow it down from there. It's better to have more information in this case than less. So that way you have some options. So that's all.
I think you guys pretty much covered everything, but that's pretty much what I did as well. I did try to actually go through the insurance route first. But I will just kind of like caution you with that. With insurance, there is a lot of footwork you have to do. So um, just know that if you're going to try to go through that process first, there's a lot of work that you have to do with your primary care physician. They have to be on board with like documenting things like rashes or like complications that you're having with your loose skin, or even like with breast reduction. Sometimes insurances want a lot of documentation, and like they want to try the conservative treatments first before they'll even consider any type of skin removal. So I did do that for several months before we even got to the point to submit for skin removal. But by the time we did that, for my breasts, they were like, oh, well, now you kind of lost too much weight and tissue, so now you don't have enough. And then for the I can't even say it, the skin removal for your stomach. Yeah, they were like, oh, we actually don't even cover that. So yeah, we can't do anything. So I had to pay completely out of pocket, but I just kind of like started looking at other people's results, other surgeons, online, on Instagram, Real Self. I joined a few surgery groups on Facebook. And then went on, I think, a total of 5 consultations locally, just to kind of see what my options were. And I researched for, I think I would say like 2 years before I like committed to anything. And I started looking into Mexico, I would say about maybe 10 months post-op VSG, mainly because of the results. I mean, like, they were really good, and also the prices. But with that, obviously safety is of the utmost importance. So I definitely looked into my surgeon, Dr. Lazos, looked at his death rates, looked at all of his results, looked at his board certification. I messaged patients that he had. I actually met up with patients that lived locally here. We had lunch. They showed me their results. We talked, so I definitely did my research before I booked anything. And I was very, very pleased with my results and the level of care that I actually received in Mexico. I know a lot of people think, oh, if you go out of the country, it's going to be like Saw. They're going to put you in like the Saw bathroom, and that's what it's going to look like. And honestly, I was so well taken care of. I would definitely do it again. But if you're looking, I would say definitely do your research, and be realistic with your expectations. Like, just because you see one person, oh, that's how they look, so if I go to that doctor, I'm going to look the same way. Like, don't go in with those expectations, because everybody's different. Everybody's starting point is different, and what the doctor can do is different. But definitely research results, and kind of just see what you like, and go from there.
So one of the questions, I'm going to kind of do these two real quickly just because they're related to plastics as well. How long after surgery should you wait before doing a skin tuck, and getting ready for that emotionally? And does exercise help with strengthening the skin?
I have the answers for those.
Okay,
Like,
awesome.
We cannot fix or shrink loose skin with exercise. You can fill out loose skin with muscle if you build a lot of muscle, but we can't fix loose skin purely with exercise. That's something that has to be removed surgically, unfortunately. But strength training and building muscle before plastic surgery is so important, not just for your results afterwards, but for recovery as well. So I would definitely say yes, do it, but it's not going to magically make all of your loose skin go away. And your loose skin, I also want to say, like, that depends on genetics. It depends on, connective tissue issues or not, if you have issues with collagen, age, environmental factors, hormones. There's just so many things that go into skin and loose skin that affect it. But yeah, there's no one fix all, thing for that. And then what was the second question? My brain is mush.
How to
Emotionally.
emotionally.
Right. Yeah. Preparing emotionally. I will say that at least for me, in my experience, you think you are emotionally prepared for it, and then you're not. So just be prepared for the unexpected, that it is going to be more of a mental game than just a physical. Like, yes, it's obviously, like, plastic surgery recovery takes a long time. It takes weeks or months, depending on which one you get. And that does take a toll on you physically, but it's the mental challenge of every day. You feel like you're not making progress. You feel like you're still in compression, and that is also emotionally and physically draining, to be in compression all the time. And wound care, and if you have complications, like, all of that is so mentally draining. So just being prepared that it is not easy. It is very difficult to recover from plastics, and it's very different than kind of any other surgery out there in terms of recovery. So yeah, just being prepared for that.
Okay. We're going to take one more question. We're going to try to make it really short because I want to try to stay close to our hour, and it's on protein. We had probably 3, 4 questions submitted on protein, like how much protein do you typically get in? Any suggestions on that?
So I can answer that as well. But I don't want to take away from anybody else.
Good.
Go for it.
So as a personal trainer, it just kind of depends on your goals. We usually suggest that kind of that bare minimum is about 80 grams for women. But really, you can eat all the way up to 1 gram of protein per pound that you weigh. Now, obviously, if you weigh, the higher you weigh, that's a lot of freaking protein. So it's not always doable. But yeah, I'd say hitting that bare minimum. Usually the calculation that I use is a 0.7 grams per pound of what you weigh, or what your ideal weight would be. It's another way to look at it too. So I usually try for myself, try to hit 120 to 130 grams minimum a day. The more, the better. I remember one of the questions was even asking, like, how do you get that much protein in when like, when you can only eat so much, or like there's only like so many meals in a day. So if you're eating 3 meals a day, trying to hit 30 grams of protein per meal is kind of the ideal. But if you can't eat 3 meals a day because we have small stomachs, 4 to 6 meals, hitting anywhere from 15 to 20 grams per meal is kind of the goal.
I'm going to say the scandalous thing. I am still a protein shake drinker, and
Yes. Supplement.
I supplement because I know that it is very challenging for me to consume all of the proteins that I should be consuming. My goal is typically somewhere between the range of 90 to 100 grams of protein, which in theory, if I break it up every meal, I try to get 30 grams, but that doesn't always happen. I'm a mom of 3. I have a child who's special needs. Sometimes I'm on the go. And so a protein shake is just what I have to do. I get my 30 grams in with my protein shakes, and I call it a day. And I know that, it's not always the ideal choice. I know that your doctors at some point want you to eat your proteins, but I know my lifestyle. This goes back to knowing what kind of lifestyle you live, and knowing that your journey is uniquely your journey, and you do what works for you. And protein shakes still work for me. So that is how I get a lot of my proteins. I'm not necessarily a breakfast eater because I'm running out with my child to take her to her program, and so Profi, and I'm on my way. So do what you can and do what works for you.
Janelle? Do you have anything?
I would say I'm very much a creature of habit. So I find my go-to meals and I don't stop eating them. Like I will find like my hyperfixation meal and I don't have a problem with eating that like for like the whole week. I'm one of those people who will meal prep on Sunday to set myself up for success and then just eat everything throughout the week. So I am a planner, so I just plan out everything and what I'm going to eat. With my protein, I try to get typically like 100 grams a day from Whole Foods. So that's why I really take the time on Sunday to plan out the menu for the and really just stick to it. If we go out, the only time I have trouble is if we go out of town because obviously I don't have a kitchen, can't really cook. So that's when things get a little lax, and I will supplement with the protein shakes, which are not a bad thing, guys. Protein shakes, I mean, they're necessary evils sometimes.
And Janelle, for some reason, the volume on yours kind of went down. I'm not sure if that was just my computer that it did it on, or
I heard it too.
okay. We could still hear you. It was just lower for some reason.
Oh no. Okay, can you hear me? No?
It sounds a little muffled, but we can hear you kind of low.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what's going on.
So let's we're gonna wrap up questions. I want to say thank you, each of you guys, for joining us. Closing thought before we kind of go into our sponsor.
Yeah, this is your journey, right? And it's going to be uniquely yours. You would never judge your baby for not knowing how to take its first few steps. So remember that going into this journey, we're all newborns, right? This is our new norm. So extend a little grace to yourself. Know that you're relearning and unlearning some things. That takes time. There's always a learning curve. And even years later, you'll hear some veterans say, listen, I fudge up sometimes, and that's okay. We're humans and life gets the lifing. And just because we're bariatric, we're not exempt from it. So just do your 1%, kind of what I was talking about before. It's not going to be perfect every day, but if you keep showing up, whether that's at 1%, whether that's at 50%, whether that's at 75%, just show up for yourself. You already took the leap and had the surgery. This is the biggest act of self-care and self-love you'll ever give yourself. So at the very least, if you can show up at 1%, that is just enough. And then tomorrow you'll just do better. That's all.
I really love that, Char. I wanted to say this earlier, but then I forgot because ADHD. But one of the probably most impactful things that a previous therapist ever said to me is literally about that. It's you cannot give 100% of your energy to everything in your life every day. So you can't give 100% to your kids and also give 100% at your job and give 100% at your nutrition and your exercise and your sleep and all those things. That's impossible. That's a billion percent. Like you just can't do that. So allowing yourself to say, yeah, today I can only show up 2% for my, physical health, mental health, food, water, whatever it is. That's okay because maybe tomorrow's a little easier in other realms and you can give a little bit more or a little bit more. And every day is going to look different. And as soon as I learned that, I was able to take that pressure off of myself and go, oh, okay. I don't have to be on my nutrition every single day of my life because life. So I love that. And I just wanted to back that up.
I just wanted to say, no matter where you are in your journey, if you're just starting out, if you're in the middle, like in the trenches, just know that you are not alone. You have us, you have like a really large community. This path is more than just about weight loss. It's about healing. It is about growth and becoming the strongest and the healthiest version of yourself inside and out. Just be kind to your body and be patient with yourself in the process. And most importantly, just keep showing up for yourself, because you're definitely worth it. You know, you're the most important project that you could ever work on. So don't give up.
You guys have inspired me because I think a lot of what what you're saying fits no matter how early you are on your journey or how late, you know. So many great points. Thank you so much. I am posting the information on how to find each of these wonderful women and how to be able to reach out to them for support or just be a part of their communities by liking their pages on social media or like following them and just being able to interact. And so Char Holmes again is at BSG_bestie. Bex is at becoming underscore Bex, and Janelle is at Janelle underscore on a journey. Each of them are affiliates of our sponsor, which is ProCare Health, which we're going to talk about here. I'm going to jump onto the ProCare Health website. You will save by using their codes. If you want to pick one of their codes and use them to save money. Girls, I'm going to jump onto the website and then I want you to share what your favorite products are. Would you guys be willing to do that?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to share my screen. So we're on ProCare. It's procarenow.com. If you're listening and not actually watching the replay, these ladies' information will be in the description, so you can kind of go in there and look as well. When you get to this page, you're going to have lists of products, our loyalty rewards, subscribe and save, and resources. Today's episode and future episodes of these podcasts are listed under the tab resources and Bari-Connected. And when you go on there, you'll actually have links where you can follow. You can watch the replay on there by connecting on that. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is the link for that is towards the end of the page. It's on ProCare Health and Vitamins. When you click that, it's going to bring you to a page that is ProCare Health Vitamins and Supplements. And we have over 500 videos on there. These ladies' video will be posted on there by next Tuesday. And so go in there, subscribe so you get notifications of oncoming new events, and also become a part of our Facebook page. So when you go on to when you go into the Bari-Connected page, there's join our Facebook page and our Facebook community, and these ladies are on that page as well. So you become part of that community. Also want to just go back to products. How about each of you? What is your favorite products?
As I'm chewing here like a goat, this is what I'm chewing on. I don't know if you guys can see the peaches and cream. I'm obsessed with that calcium. Like when that came out, I was one of the few that was able to kind of taste it before it was launched to the public. So I was really, really excited when it finally did come out. So if you are a person who has a hard time with eating like your vitamins, if you get tasty ones for some reason, you never forget. So ProCare's got you covered in the flavor department, I promise. I'm very picky, so that is one of my favorite calciums, hands down. Outside the chocolate, of course.
So you guys can find that under new arrivals and also under calcium. Okay, who's next?
I think mine's the multivitamin chews for sure. Right there. I see them. The did you click? Yeah. Those are definitely my favorite because they kind of like satisfy my candy craving. They are very delicious and they are made specifically with bariatric patients in mind. So they kind of hit like all the nutrition that we need. You get to take two of them. So it's like almost like getting two little treats every day. They're definitely my favorite. Like, and the cherry lime one kind of reminds me of if you've ever had like a Sonic, like the little I don't know what did you call them, the little drinks at Sonic, the little freezes, but that's what it tastes like, and I just love them so much. I wish I could have more than two a day.
My favorite is, I don't have the bottle with me, but it's the Orange Grove Easy Swallow multivitamins. Yep, right there in the middle. These hit everything I need. But my favorite part is the fact that they have iron. I am a chronically iron deficient girly, so gotta have iron. And yeah, these are my favorite. I take them every single day. I also love the probiotics too, because I had one of those like gut health tests done, and turns out I am missing a specific gut bacteria, a certain probiotic, and the only probiotic that I have found on the market that contains it is the ProCare probiotic. So those are my go-tos every single day, never fail.
Oh, I also took wound support. I saw on there too. After I got my plastic surgery, I also took the wound support as well.
Oh, wound
Um,
support.
yep, and I feel like it helped my scars. Everything healed really nicely, and I did not have any complications.
So that's just called wound support.
Hmm.
So um and actually I'm glad you brought that up too, because we don't really talk about that product very much. And it basically has, it's fortified to have all, when you go under wound support, it's under therapeutics on our website. And it actually has micronutrients, trace minerals, hyaluronic acid, turmeric, L-glutamine, chondroitin, all of these, glutamine, are garnine. Some of these are hard to pronounce, but just lots of great things to help with healing. So when we're talking about plastics or any kind of surgery, whether it's weight loss surgery or any of these surgeries we have after, some great resources. Well, ladies, thank you so much again, and appreciate all of these people that are sharing and part of our call. Um, just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking time out for yourselves, and have a most wonderful day. Everybody that has joined us and has spent time with us. So
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for having
guys,
me.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
bye,
you. Bye.
everybody.